The story opens with Daniel Hayes mopping the corridor floor of the Frontier Medical Station on Keyleth 9, a remote facility that serves the outer colonies where multiple species intersect with limited resources. He's a maintenance worker, the kind of person who keeps the station functional through cleaning, basic repairs, and whatever else needs doing. The work is unglamorous but stable, and Daniel prefers it to the complicated politics of more prestigious positions. He's wringing out his mop when the screaming starts. It's not the controlled distress of someone in manageable pain. It's raw, agonized, the kind of sound that triggers every primal instinct to help. Daniel abandons his mop and follows the sound to the emergency medical ward, where several Valorian medical staff are clustered around a bed. The patient is a young Serani woman, her long, elegantly curved ears pressed flat against her head, her body rigid with pain despite the sedatives and analgesics being administered. The medical displays show her neural patterns spiking into dangerous territory. A Valorian physician, Dr. Carries, Daniel recognizes, is speaking rapidly to colleagues, clearly frustrated. "We've tried every pain management protocol. Her nervous system isn't responding. If we can't stabilize her, the neural feedback will cause permanent damage." The Serani woman screams again, and Daniel can't just stand in the doorway watching. He steps forward past the medical staff and does the only thing his instincts suggest. He takes her hand. The moment Daniel's hand closes around hers, the screaming stops, not gradually, instantly. The Serani woman's body relaxes, her breathing steadies, and the medical monitors show her neural spikes dropping to normal levels within seconds. The entire medical team freezes, staring at this impossible result. Daniel looks at the woman. Her silver eyes are now open and focused on him with an intensity that suggests complete awareness despite her previous agony. She hasn't let go of his hand. "Doctor." Carries recovers first, scanning both Daniel and the patient with a handheld medical scanner. His expression shifts through confusion to dawning realization to what might be alarm. "How did you do that?" Daniel shrugs, still holding the woman's hand because releasing it seems wrong when it's clearly helping. I don't know. I held her hand to try to comfort her. I didn't do anything medical." "You did more than any medical intervention could." Dr. Carries pulls up data on his terminal, comparing scans. Serani nervous systems are hypersensitive to certain electromagnetic frequencies. Her condition, neural cascade disorder, creates feedback loops that intensify pain exponentially. We can't shut down the feedback without risking permanent nerve damage. He pauses, studying the data with clear amazement. But human neural patterns produce a specific low-frequency resonance. When you touched her, your nervous system's electromagnetic field interfaced with hers, essentially dampening the feedback loops. You're acting as a biological neural regulator. Daniel stares at the doctor, trying to process this. "So my brain waves or whatever are somehow canceling out her pain. That's not possible, right?" Apparently it is. This interaction between human and Serani neurology has been theorized but never documented. The frequency match is extraordinarily rare. Dr. Carries looks at Daniel with something approaching sympathy. "You need to understand what you've done, culturally. Among the Serani, touch that alleviates suffering is considered the highest form of intimacy. The one who can silence pain through presence alone is recognized as life stabilizer, a bond that carries significant cultural and legal weight." Daniel glances at the Serani woman, who's still holding his hand with surprising strength considering she was screaming in agony moments ago. "What kind of weight?" "The kind that makes you responsible for her continued stability," a new voice says. A Serani official has entered the medical ward, her bearing suggesting high authority. "I am Magistrate Shelia. You have established connection with Liara that cannot be easily dissolved. By Serani law, the one who first stabilizes a sufferer of neural cascade becomes recognized as their bonded protector, responsible for their well-being, until the condition naturally resolves or medical technology advances sufficiently. Daniel's stomach drops. I was just trying to help. I didn't know holding someone's hand came with legal obligations. Ignorance of cultural law does not negate its application, Magistrate Shelia says, but her tone isn't unkind. However, I acknowledge your action was instinctive compassion rather than calculated claim. That matters. She turns to Liara. Do you accept this human as your stabilizer? The law gives you voice in this bond. Liara speaks for the first time, her voice rough from screaming but steady. He silenced agony that was destroying me. Every medical intervention failed. He touched me without knowing the cultural weight, without seeking advantage, simply because I was in pain and he wanted to help. She looks at Daniel directly. Yes, I accept him as my stabilizer. I trust him with the burden this creates. Over the following days, as the medical team works to understand the human-Serani neural interaction and develop treatments that might eventually replicate its effects, Daniel learns what being Liara's stabilizer actually means. He needs to maintain regular physical contact. Hand-holding works, though any skin-to-skin contact creates the stabilizing effect. Without it, her neural cascade resumes within hours, pain returning with devastating intensity. The station administration is surprisingly accommodating, reassigning Daniel to light duties that allow him to remain near the medical ward. Liara is moved to private quarters where Daniel can stay nearby without disrupting hospital operations. They develop a routine. Daniel reads or works on station maintenance reports while holding Liara's hand, providing the neural resonance that keeps her stable. They talk, cautiously at first, then with growing ease. Liara explains she's a xenolinguist who was studying human communication patterns when her condition manifested, a genetic disorder that activates unpredictably in young Serani adults, usually triggered by stress or exposure to certain environmental factors. Most sufferers either die from the neural feedback or require permanent medical sedation that destroys cognitive function. Daniel's intervention is literally the difference between agonizing death and functional life. When Daniel asks why human neural patterns specifically help, Liara explains that Serani evolved on a world with unique electromagnetic properties. Human nervous systems, independently evolved on completely different world, somehow produce frequencies that interact beneficially with Serani neurology. It's cosmic coincidence, or proof that the universe has a strange sense of humor about compatibility. I've trapped you in obligation you never sought, Liara says one evening, as they sit in her quarters with Daniel's hand loosely holding hers. You were maintenance worker. Now you're bonded stabilizer to someone whose survival depends on your presence. That's not fair to you. Daniel considers this. He could resent the situation, his life fundamentally changed by an instinctive moment of compassion. But looking at Liara, who faces each day knowing pain waits for her if he leaves, he finds resentment isn't what he feels. You were dying in agony. I could stop it by holding your hand. That's not really a difficult moral calculation. He pauses. Also, you're interesting to talk to. I'm learning more about xenolinguistics in weeks with you than in years of casual reading. Could be worse situations to be trapped in. Liara's expression softens. You make it sound simple. Noble burden reduced to could be worse. It is simple. You need help. I can provide it. The cultural weight and legal obligations are just frameworks around that basic reality. Daniel shrugs. Though I admit the hand-holding is occasionally awkward when I need to use the bathroom. Liara laughs, the first time Daniel has heard the sound, and it transforms her face from serious scholar to someone younger and more vulnerable. Very human. Reduce profound life-stabilizing bond to complaints about bathroom logistics. As months pass, medical researchers make progress toward technological solutions that might eventually replicate the human neural resonance effect. But until that breakthrough arrives, Daniel remains Liara's stabilizer, and neither seems particularly eager to rush the transition. They've become partners in an unexpected way, built on the foundation of Daniel's instinctive compassion and Liara's choice to trust him with her vulnerability. When colleagues ask Daniel about his situation, bonded to an alien woman through neural compatibility that makes him essential to her survival, he gives characteristically simple answers. She needed help. I could help. Everything else just followed from that. But Liara knows the truth is more complex. Daniel didn't just silence her pain. He accepted responsibility for another person's well-being without hesitation, without calculating personal cost, simply because compassion was needed and he could provide it. That choice, repeated daily through maintained connection and genuine care, proves that the strongest bonds often form not through grand gestures, but through consistent presence and willingness to bear another's burden. And sometimes being unable